Hey guys, welcome back to Cherry Hill Farm. I realized after I was editing the video that I made the other day about the irrigation system that I failed to talk about our fertigation system. So I'm fixing to run some potassium nitrate to our tomatoes and eggplant along with some Actigard fungicide. So I'll show you how all that works. The first thing you got to do is you've got to get your system full. So we're going to go ahead and crank our system up. It usually takes about an hour and a half to run a full bag of fertilizer to our tomato field. So put an hour and 45 on the timer because it takes 15 minutes for the system to fill. Start it up and let's go get a bag of fertilizer. A little bit left. So this Actigard, they call it a plant activator. It's different than a lot of fungicides. I was a little bit skeptical when I first time I purchased it. It's extremely expensive, and you see the size of the bottle, so it made me kind of wonder about what I was getting. But I think it is well worth the price. You run it through your drip irrigation, you don't have to spray it. The plants take it up just like they do this fertilizer, and it causes the plant to use its natural defenses more effectively. It's basically the way it works, and it does a really good job of keeping plants healthy. So it's extremely concentrated. I might have to read the label again. I think it's like 3/10 of an ounce or a half an ounce to the acre. So it really doesn't take much at all. I've got this little pump that I bought off of Amazon, and it's probably not what it was intended for, but it probably doesn't appreciate this coarse use very much. But the potassium nitrate that we use, it doesn't dissolve very good. It's kind of like getting sand to dissolve. But we put this pump down in our barrel and plug this sucker up, and it stirs the water a little bit and helps to get the potassium nitrate to dissolve. Yep. Amazingly enough, she still runs and still moves the water. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the pump's sitting here and it's got the potassium nitrate starting to stir. So it does a pretty good job, I think. Alright, we've been running for about 15 minutes. All the drip tape's full. So we're ready for the magic. Basically what we've got here is, this is called a Mozzie injector, and the way that it works is we're going to turn these two valves on, and it allows water to come through here instead of straight through this valve. Well, it's taking the path of least resistance right now, so we have to crank this valve down. It's just a big gate valve. We're going to slowly crank it down until we start slowing the water flow through here, and it'll start forcing the water through here. When that happens, this little hose right here is going to start pulling, we're going to start drawing. So it siphons, it'll siphon our fertilize and fungicide mixture out of here. I've actually got a little flow gauge that tells me how many gallons per hour I'm putting in. and then it will suck it in and blend it and send it out to the field. So it's not much to it. There we go. You see our little balls telling us we're putting about 20 gallons an hour right now, and that's probably pretty good. It actually doesn't cut our pressure down that much. You can see we're still running 55 pounds to the field. I usually try not to get below 50. I shoot for 50. And we're at about 22, 23 gallons an hour. The reason that we run potassium nitrate is the potassium that's in the soil from the granular, fertilized, and natural, etc., is not easily available to plants. And in order for you to make a crop, potassium is the most important nutrient for fruiting vegetables. So this soluble liquid potassium, if you will, it is extremely easy for the plants to take it up. And right now, take a look at our tomato crop out here. They're starting to put on fruit. It's a critical time for them. They need a ton of potassium if we're going to be able to get a yield and be able to turn a profit on this crop. So that's the reason why we're running that potassium, so that we can get just as many big pretty fruit as possible off of these plants. See the stage we're at right now? That's kind of an ugly tomato. We'll go ahead and ditch that one. We don't need any like that. But it's a critical time for them for potassium. You see we went back through, even though we were a little too far along, we went through and cut all the gigantic suckers that we were looking at the other day off. But the guys looks like they're finishing up on tying eggplant. We're getting those tied. Tomatoes are looking pretty good. So this is our rig that we use to no-till our squash. It's a pretty old planter. There's not many folks around still using these to plant row crops with. But really the only purpose it serves for us, you probably may have saw me a minute ago hook up the PTO. The only reason I did that was just to have a place for it to ride, because we're not even going to turn the air on. If we were using this planter the way it's designed, it blows air into this drum and it meters seed into this drum a little bit at a time, and the seeds stick to these holes because of the air pressure forcing out. And as this drum turns, it gets around here to these little rubber wheels, and they cut the air pressure off, so the seed will drop, and it goes down these tubes, and the tubes run out to the back where the disc openers cut a trench, and it blows the seed down these hoses and into the seed trench, and then your closers close the trench, press wheel packs it. Pretty simple. But what we've done, we've modified it. We're only using 2 rows because we need 60-inch centers on our squash. This is kind of a jerry-rigged way of doing it, but you've seen the evidence of how well our squash has come up. We've got 2 seats on here, and we have taken the factory seed tube off, put a funnel in, and basically we just have a rider here and a rider over there. There's a white stripe here on the wheel, two of them actually, because the wheel has a 48-inch circumference. So every time the rider sees that white stripe come to the top, they drop a seed. And so far we've been getting pretty consistent 24-inch spacing on 5-foot centers. So yeah, we're gonna eat some lunch and go to the field and see if we can get some more squash in the ground. All right, well, about 30 minutes after that last clip, it came a serious downpour, thunder and lightning, the whole 9 yards. So we're out here Monday. I just got my crooked row markers put on because we're planting offset. We're not planting all 4 rows. We got a 4-row planter, but it plants 4 rows on 30-inch centers, and we want 2 rows on 60-inch centers. So we just got 2 seats here with the funnels, and the riders just drop a seed every time the white stripe comes around the wheel. Got off and we're checking the depth on our seed, and a little bit concerned, as wet as we are. If it was drier, I might not be as concerned, but we're getting them in there a good 2 inches deep. You can see this little seed right here. You can see we're planting into it green. It's got a lot of weeds in it. It's more or less a meadow, but since it's been no-tilled, it's been a hayfield forever. So we are no-tilling this squash in. We're going to come back and we're going to spray it with a good herbicide and a good pre-emergent, and we shouldn't really have any weed pressure at all, because this grass that's here will just really mat the ground and should give us a good cover. We adjusted on our depth gauge wheels a little bit, and you see we got them where they're now about an inch down in the ground. That's the way we want them. So we should be good to roll now. We're under a severe thunderstorm warning, so I'm hoping we can at least get this field of spaghetti planted. This cover crop is not quite what we like. As far as we prefer it to be some kind of grain or something planted instead of weeds and fescue, but based on the fruit quality that I've seen out of our other no-till fields, I think it's going to work out good. It's pretty dense, so I think we'll get good ground cover. The main thing is just to keep those squash from laying in the dirt, getting stained up, and keeping the insects from eating them up. So if we can do that, then we'll be good. We're planting about an acre an hour, and I know that's really slow, but I guarantee you one thing: it takes less time to plant squash like this than it does to plow, disc, lay plastic, spray, then come through with a water wheel and plant all this. So we are saving quite a bit per acre by no-tilling it in. And so far, all of our, you saw my last video, then you saw that how good our no-till squash are looking so far. So unless it stops raining, hopefully this field will look just as good. One thing we've got going for us here is we are on the South Yadkin River right here. So as long as these squash get out of the ground where we can see them and see where to run the drip tape, we can pump water out of the river and irrigate these if we need to. Alright guys, I hope I gave a decent overview of how we plant our no-till squash. If you got any questions, just drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.